1. Listen well, for what I speak is not a tale of glittering gold, but of the unseen law that governs every coin, every treasure, and every path of prosperity. The world has wrapped wealth in mystery, veiled it with fear, and placed it upon a pedestal of difficulty, so that only a chosen few may seem to hold its keys. But I tell you, the real game of money is not played in banks, nor behind closed doors of grand mansions. It is played in the quiet chambers of the mind, in the radiant gardens of thought, and in the steady rhythm of belief. Many chase money as if it were a distant star, shining but untouchable. They grasp, they hurry, they labor until their backs are bent and their spirits worn. Yet the secret the rich hold close is this: money does not come to the grasping hand, it flows to the open channel. It does not answer to fear, it answers to certainty. It does not live in the realm of lack, it is born in the realm of abundance. Prosperity is not created by toil alone, but by thought aligned with divine law. The rich are not powerful because they possess money. They possess money because they know power. And power is not a whip. It is a whisper. It is the whisper that says, I have already received. It is the quiet knowing that what belongs to you by divine right can never be withheld. While many cry out, I want, I need, the wise declare, I have, I am. And in that declaration, the invisible treasury of the universe swings open its golden doors. You have been taught to chase after wealth like a beggar at a feast, but the secret is to claim it as your own inheritance. Money is not a master but a servant. It bows to the one who stands firm in faith, who speaks the language of plenty, not of fear. The game is not to run faster, but to see clearer. For when your vision is anchored in truth, the world must obey. The real money game is an inner arrangement, a harmony between thought and divine supply. It is knowing that prosperity is not earned in sweat, but accepted in grace. While the world scurries to grab crumbs from the table of the rich, the enlightened soul remembers, I am the banquet. The river of abundance is not a trickle reserved for a few, it is a mighty current that flows for all who are willing to believe. Today, as you hear these words, let the walls of limitation fall. Let the chains of fear dissolve, for the law of wealth is simple. What you expect with unwavering faith, what you speak with conviction, and what you claim without doubt must appear. This is the game the rich play, not with coins and ledgers, but with spirit and mind. And now you too may step onto that invisible playing field where prosperity is not a secret but a birthright. Money flows to certainty, not fear, for certainty is the language of the unseen law that governs every flow of wealth and opportunity. The invisible substance that shapes prosperity responds not to desperation, not to trembling pleas, but to the calm and unshakable assurance that what is yours is already on its way. When a person stands firm in faith, when their thoughts are anchored in the conviction of abundance, the invisible currents of supply begin to rearrange themselves. Situations shift, doors open, opportunities rise like golden dawns on horizons that once looked empty. Fear, on the other hand, is like a wall built by your own hand, blocking the natural stream of plenty. Fear whispers, what if it doesn't come? And the universe, always obedient to belief, answers with delay and scarcity. Certainty declares, it is already mine, and the universe bows, responding with swift and sure supply. Certainty is not noise, it is not frantic, it is not begging. It is the quiet power of a soul that knows. It is like the stillness of a tree that knows the rain will fall, that the sun will rise, that the earth will hold its roots firm. Money is drawn to that stillness like metal to a magnet, for certainty carries the vibration of possession, not lack. When you walk as though your good is assured, you send out a signal far stronger than any plea or struggle ever could. Those who hold great wealth often live in this state of inner certainty. They may not speak it in spiritual terms, but they embody it. They expect money to come, so it comes. They assume opportunities will appear, so they do. They trust in their position in the flow, so the flow obeys. Fear scrambles the current. It creates a fog in the mind that blinds vision. It makes one cling tightly to every coin, shutting the hand that must remain open for more to enter. When fear governs, decisions are made in panic, opportunities are missed, and the voice of intuition is drowned out by the noise of worry. Fear paints illusions of lack, convincing the mind that the supply is limited, that someone else must lose for you to gain. But certainty knows no such lies. Certainty is the clear sky through which wealth travels easily. It says, there is enough for all, and in that recognition, it aligns with the abundance of the universe. The difference between one who is rich and one who remains in want is often not the work they do but the vibration they hold. A mind filled with fear works harder but receives little. A mind steady in certainty may seem to work effortlessly, yet everything flows. This is not chance, it is law. Fear is resistance, certainty is flow. Money cannot move into a life where fear builds dams at every turn. It requires the open gate of trust, the wide channel of expectation. This is why some toil endlessly yet never break free, while others, appearing to glide, receive more with ease. It is not luck. It is the nature of spiritual law. Certainty is a quiet command. It does not beg the universe, it instructs it. It is the energy of one who walks with a full cup even before the cup is filled. It is the knowing that your provision is not dependent on human means alone, but on the infinite supply that moves through all things. Fear says, I must make it happen, while certainty says, it is already arranged. One is heavy, the other light. One strains, the other receives. And money, being a form of energy, gravitates toward lightness, ease, and confidence. Fear is a shadow that convinces you to grasp and clutch, to hold on too tightly, to count every coin with trembling hands. Certainty allows you to give, to act boldly, to invest in yourself, to move forward as though the path is already cleared. It is not reckless, it is rooted. It is the difference between stepping onto a bridge unsure if it will hold, and walking across knowing it cannot fail. The one who holds certainty does not wait for evidence before believing. Their belief calls forth the evidence. The one who waits for proof remains always in waiting. Money listens to the mind that speaks with confidence. It drifts toward those who expect it, like a river flowing to a valley that makes space for it. Fear is a clenched fist. Certainty is an open hand. When you hold an open hand, the flow is continuous, giving and receiving without interruption. But a clenched fist, though it may protect a few coins, cannot receive more. It is locked. Many live in this locked state, guarding their lack, defending their fear, and wondering why the flow bypasses them. Certainty is not arrogance, it is alignment. It is the unspoken understanding that abundance is your birthright, not a prize you must beg for. It is walking through the marketplace of life with the ease of one who knows they belong, not shrinking in corners hoping to be seen. The wealthy embody this without even naming it. They operate as if wealth is a given, and so it is. Their energy says, I have, not, I hope. And the invisible law that governs supply responds faithfully, for it mirrors the state of consciousness it meets. Fear makes you doubt your worthiness. It says, who am I to have more? Certainty answers, I am already chosen, by divine law, to live in abundance. Fear clings to old stories of failure and lack. Certainty writes new stories and watches them unfold. Fear looks at the visible world and trembles. Certainty looks at the invisible supply and rests. And because what is invisible shapes the visible, certainty always prevails. In every transaction, every opportunity, every exchange, your state of being speaks louder than your words. Fear shouts lack into the universe, and the universe echoes it back. Certainty whispers abundance, and abundance returns. This is why two people can stand before the same door, and only one finds it open. It is not the door that is different. It is the energy they carry. Certainty is not a feeling that visits occasionally. It is a stance, a spiritual posture. It is built not by force but by remembrance. the remembrance that supply does not come from the outer world, but through it. It is the inner knowing that the source of all money, all opportunities, all prosperity is infinite and unchanging. Fear comes from forgetting this truth. Certainty comes from remembering it so deeply that no outer circumstance can shake it. When certainty fills your mind, the outer world rearranges itself to match it. Clients appear, offers emerge, debts dissolve, ideas flourish, help comes from unexpected places. It is not magic, but law. The moment you stop fearing the loss of money, you stop pushing it away. The moment you stop doubting its arrival, it stops hesitating. The moment you step into certainty, you step into the natural stream where money flows like a river that has been waiting for you to step in all along. Prosperity is an inner alignment, not outer toil, for wealth is born first in the realm of thought, before it ever shows its form in the realm of matter. The unseen precedes the seen, and the invisible structure of your beliefs, expectations, and vibrations determines the shape of your financial world. Many believe money is earned only through struggle, that prosperity is a distant prize won by the sweat of the brow. But this is the illusion that binds countless souls to endless labor without ever tasting true abundance. The law is simpler and far more powerful. When the inner self aligns with prosperity, the outer world must reflect it, just as a mirror cannot deny the image before it. Outer toil without inner alignment is like sowing seeds in barren ground. No matter how hard you work, how long you labor, the soil of lack cannot yield a harvest of abundance. But when the soil of the mind is rich with faith, certainty, and expectation, even a small seed can produce an overflowing harvest. Prosperity is not measured by how much effort one exerts, but by how clearly one aligns their inner world with the truth of abundance. Work done in fear yields only more fear. Work done in doubt brings meager results. But work done in alignment multiplies itself, for it is fueled by the limitless supply that flows through the universe. The rich have learned, whether knowingly or not, to live from a place of inner alignment. Their minds do not wrestle with scarcity, their thoughts do not echo lack. They move as if supply is natural, as if increase is certain, and so their outer circumstances bend to match this inner rhythm. This is not because they are chosen or lucky, but because they have aligned themselves with the frequency of wealth. To them, prosperity is not a chase, but a state of being. Inner alignment is like tuning an instrument. When the strings of your mind vibrate in harmony with abundance, the song of wealth plays effortlessly. But when those strings are tangled with fear, doubt, resentment, or unworthiness, the music is discordant and the flow of prosperity is disrupted. Many spend their days adjusting the outer world, changing jobs, pushing harder, grasping for opportunities, believing that a different circumstance will bring wealth. Yet the true shift happens not in the outer circumstance but in the inner alignment. When the mind is aligned, opportunities are drawn naturally. Doors open where walls once stood, and the right actions come with ease rather than strain. Outer toil is heavy and restless when it is divorced from inner alignment. It creates exhaustion, frustration, and bitterness, for the soul knows it is pushing against the current instead of flowing with it. True prosperity does not demand endless struggle. It demands a mind that is tuned to receive. This does not mean one sits idly. It means one acts from inspired movement rather than fearful chasing. The work flows, not drags. The hours bring fruit, not emptiness. When the inner self says, "I am abundant," the outer world must obey, for law bends to consciousness. A person may labor tirelessly for years and remain poor in spirit and in bank, while another, seemingly less strained, prospers greatly. This contrast is not unfairness, but reflection of alignment. The universe is not moved by effort alone. It is moved by the vibration behind the effort. When fear fuels action, it creates scarcity. When faith fuels action, it creates increase. Inner alignment is that sacred point where thought, emotion, and belief stand united in the conviction of plenty. From this state, work becomes a joyful expression, not a desperate plea. Inner alignment requires cleansing the mind of the whispers of lack. The world is full of voices that say prosperity is rare, that money is hard, that abundance belongs only to a few. These are not truths, they are lies dressed as wisdom. To align inwardly with prosperity is to strip away these illusions and return to the fundamental knowing that supply is infinite. The same air that fills every lung without limit is the same abundance that flows through every channel when allowed. Scarcity is not the nature of the universe, it is the creation of fearful minds. When the inner self truly aligns with prosperity, even simple acts carry power. A conversation becomes a doorway, a single idea becomes a river of wealth, a chance meeting becomes a stepping stone. Nothing is wasted because the inner state magnetizes everything toward increase. Outer toil without this alignment is like trying to push water uphill. Inner alignment turns the current in your favor. It is the difference between forced effort and effortless flow. To align inwardly with prosperity is to adopt the language of abundance. Instead of saying, "I must struggle to get," the soul declares, "I am in the flow of supply." Instead of fearing loss, it knows there is always more. Instead of hoarding, it circulates freely, knowing that what goes out must return multiplied. Outer toil grips tightly in fear. Inner alignment opens freely in trust. One builds walls, the other opens gates. Many believe that if they work harder, they will earn more. But hard work rooted in misalignment often leads only to more hard work. The soul that is aligned may work, but their work is touched with grace. They are guided toward the right actions, the right people, the right timing. It is not about doing more, but about doing from the right state of being. Alignment turns ordinary actions into extraordinary results, because the invisible law stands behind them. Prosperity begins in thought. Every fortune that has ever been built was first conceived in the unseen. It was held in mind with conviction before it took form in matter. Outer toil is the branch, inner alignment is the root. Without the root, the branch withers no matter how vigorously it is shaken. Those who build their lives upon outer toil alone are like builders constructing a house on sand. One strong wave of fear or circumstance and the structure collapses, but those who align inwardly stand upon solid ground, for their wealth is rooted not in external things, but in the unshakable law of abundance. Inner alignment is the quiet confidence that precedes manifestation. It is not shouting or demanding, it is knowing. It is the calm center of a storm that cannot be moved by temporary appearances. When the outer world shows lack, the aligned soul does not tremble, for it knows the outer is only a shadow of the inner, and shadows change when the light shifts. It adjusts inwardly, and the outer must follow. Outer toil has limits, the body tires, the hours end, opportunities run dry. Inner alignment has no such limits. It is a well that does not run out, for it is connected to infinite supply. The one who aligns inwardly taps into a reservoir that toil alone can never reach. This is why some seem to attract wealth without strain. They have mastered the inner game, and the outer becomes a reflection, not a battle. Prosperity responds to belief more than effort. It bends to faith more than force. It follows alignment more than action. This is the key so few understand. They chase the effects instead of tuning into the cause. But once the inner state matches the vibration of abundance, the outer cannot help but align with it. What seemed far away begins to appear with ease. What seemed difficult begins to flow naturally. What once felt like a struggle becomes a dance with the current of life. To live from inner alignment is to live from a place of quiet authority. It is the unshaken sense that all you need already exists and is moving toward you in divine order. It is walking through life with your head held high, not because you have everything in your hands, but because you know it is already yours in the unseen. Outer toil bows to inner alignment, for the outer world is only a servant of the inner law. Those who master the inner no longer chase, they attract. Those who align no longer grasp, they receive. Those who know no longer fear, they create. Wealth is claimed, not chased. For the act of chasing implies distance, lack, and a belief that what you desire is somewhere outside of your reach. Chasing is the behavior of the uncertain, the ones who believe they must prove their worth to the universe, while claiming is the quiet action of those who know their inheritance is already theirs. To chase is to run after a shadow, forever just beyond your grasp. To claim is to stand in your rightful place and let what belongs to you come forward. This is not arrogance, but divine alignment. When you claim, you step into a spiritual authority that needs no begging, no grasping, no chasing after promises. You speak with the voice of ownership, not the tone of yearning. Chasing wealth is a confession of lack. It is the language of someone who has accepted that abundance lives elsewhere. It creates a vibration of pursuit, which keeps prosperity on the run. The harder you chase, the farther it moves, because your own belief is pushing it away. The chaser lives in tomorrow, always saying, "One day I'll have it," and tomorrow becomes an endless horizon. The claimer lives in now, declaring, "It is already mine," and the world responds to that certainty. Those who truly prosper have learned not to chase. They do not run after opportunities as though they are rare treasures slipping through their fingers. They expect opportunities. They call them. They claim them as their own, knowing they have a right to the full flow of abundance that exists in infinite supply. The difference is not in the outer action, but in the inner position. A chaser begs the door to open. A claimer walks through, for they know it was never locked to begin with. Chasing turns you into a beggar of your own destiny. It keeps your eyes on what you don't have, and in doing so it strengthens the illusion of lack. It is fueled by fear. Fear that it might never come. Fear that you must run harder or be left behind. Fear that others are more deserving. Claiming is rooted in trust. It does not rush or scramble. It speaks, and the world rearranges itself in obedience. When you claim wealth, you are not demanding something that isn't yours. You are acknowledging what already exists for you in the unseen and allowing it to move into form. Chasing is noisy. It is restless. It creates pressure and exhaustion. It keeps the soul in a loop of striving. Claiming is quiet. It is still. It carries a silent power that draws rather than pursues. When you claim wealth, you align yourself with the natural law that says what you believe with conviction must take shape in your life. You are no longer running after money because money now knows where to find you. The one who chases waits for signs, looks for proof, and doubts in the silence. The one who claims knows that silence is not denial, but preparation. Chasing feeds uncertainty, claiming feeds manifestation. A person can chase for years and never touch what they desire because their energy is screaming, "I don't have it yet." But a person can claim and watch things unfold swiftly because their energy declares, "It is already mine." The world listens to certainty far more than effort. To claim wealth is not to sit in idleness, it is to move with authority. Every step you take carries the vibration of ownership. Every action you take is a declaration, not a plea. You speak as one who knows the outcome, not as one hoping for permission. When the inner claim is made, outer doors open naturally. People respond differently. Opportunities appear as if from nowhere. You no longer have to chase the world. The world begins to align with your certainty. Chasing is rooted in the belief that wealth is scarce. It turns every interaction into a hunt, every opportunity into a desperate race. It blinds you to the abundance that already surrounds you because your eyes are fixed on the distant horizon. Claiming is rooted in the truth that wealth is abundant. It allows you to see the openings, the channels, the possibilities that were always there but invisible to the restless eye. When you claim wealth, you step into your role as co-creator with the divine law. You no longer bow to outer appearances. You do not shrink before temporary lack. You walk with the calmness of someone who knows their name is already written on the door they are about to enter. Chasing says, "I must prove myself worthy." Claiming says, "I have always been worthy." The two energies cannot produce the same result. One creates exhaustion, the other creates manifestation. Wealth does not respond to desperation. It is repelled by the energy of pursuit. It moves toward stability, toward the magnetic pull of inner knowing. This is why some people seem to attract abundance effortlessly, while others run tirelessly in circles. The difference lies not in intelligence or opportunity, but in posture. The chaser stands outside the gates of abundance, knocking frantically. The claimer stands inside, unlocking doors with quiet hands. When you claim wealth, you give it permission to find you. You are no longer hidden behind fear or doubt. You have announced your place in the flow of prosperity. Chasing hides you, for it is built on the belief that you are separate from what you want. Claiming reveals you, for it is the light that says, "Here I am." Wealth cannot flow to one who believes they are unworthy of receiving it. Claiming dissolves that belief, replacing it with certainty. Chasing makes you compete. It breeds jealousy, comparison, and weariness. It makes you look at what others have and feel the sting of separation. Claiming removes comparison entirely, because you no longer see wealth as something limited or owned by others. You know your supply is your own. You know your path is not measured by another's journey. You know abundance is not stolen, it is aligned with. The chaser lives in anxiety, checking the clock, fearing the future, doubting the present. The claimer rests in expectation, not because of arrogance, but because they trust the unseen law to deliver what matches their inner claim. When you claim wealth, your energy shifts. Your words change. Your posture becomes one of quiet strength. The world senses this and responds. Opportunities that once seemed out of reach begin to flow toward you, because you are no longer pushing them away with the energy of lack. Chasing is the act of the beggar. Claiming is the act of the heir. One pleads at the gate, the other walks through. This difference is not about status or possessions, but about consciousness. A soul that knows its inheritance does not beg for it. It steps forward and receives. To claim wealth is to assume the feeling of having it now, not tomorrow, not someday, but now in your consciousness. It is to speak with the power of I am rather than the hope of I will be. This subtle shift in language and thought creates massive shifts in reality because the outer world is a faithful mirror of the inner one. When your inner self claims abundance, the mirror reflects abundance. When your inner self chases lack, the mirror reflects distance. Claiming requires letting go of the frantic energy that has been taught to so many. The world has told you that to succeed, you must run harder, work longer, fight for every inch. But spiritual law whispers a different truth. Stand firm, claim your right, and act from ownership, not from fear. This does not mean there is no action. It means the action is infused with power rather than desperation. One well-placed step taken in the spirit of claiming is worth more than 1,000 frantic steps taken in chasing. Wealth responds to the voice of authority. It bends to those who speak from alignment. It comes to those who stand, not those who run. It does not require permission to arrive. It only requires you to claim your place in its flow. When you claim, you become a magnet. You do not need to shout or scramble, for what is yours moves toward you with precision. You are no longer a seeker in the dark. You are the light to which wealth is drawn. Chasing will always make you feel like wealth is far away, like a prize on a hill you must climb forever. Claiming collapses the distance, because it comes from the understanding that the wealth you seek is already within your reach, already waiting for your acceptance. Chasing says, one day. Claiming says, now. And the universe listens to now far more than it listens to someday. When you stop chasing and start claiming, your entire relationship with money shifts. It no longer feels like a distant stranger to be pursued, but a faithful servant that answers your call. You stop running toward it and start receiving it. You stop fearing its absence and start standing in its presence. You stop chasing a future and start living the reality of your claim in the present moment. Abundance answers. Faith, not doubt. For faith is the key that unlocks the invisible vaults of supply, while doubt is the chain that keeps those vaults sealed. Faith is not loud or frantic. It is quiet, unshakable, and powerful. It does not plead with the universe, it stands in expectation, knowing that what is claimed in faith must appear in form. Doubt, on the other hand, whispers fear into the mind, paints shadows where there is light, and keeps the soul trapped in a cycle of waiting, questioning, and delaying its own good. Abundance cannot flow freely into a mind filled with doubt, for doubt builds walls, while faith opens gates. Faith is the language the universe understands. It is the vibration that says, "I already have," even when the outer world has not yet displayed the evidence. It is the unshakable inner knowing that the invisible substance of supply is always ready to take shape around a firm belief. Faith stands calmly in the middle of uncertainty and does not waver. Doubt looks at the same uncertainty and sees danger, sees lack, sees impossibility. Faith creates, doubt destroys. Faith builds bridges over invisible waters, while doubt convinces the soul to stay on the shore, never stepping forward. Those who live in abundance have learned, whether they name it faith or not, to trust the unseen. They walk as though the treasure is already in their hands. They speak with the authority of those who know the answer is certain. Their faith acts as a magnet, drawing opportunities, resources, people, and wealth into their orbit. Doubt, by contrast, repels the same opportunities. It creates hesitation. It sends out a signal of uncertainty, and the universe mirrors that uncertainty back. Abundance cannot rest in a heart that constantly questions its own worthiness to receive it. Faith is not blind optimism, it is spiritual certainty. It does not deny reality, but understands that reality bends to belief. It does not pretend that lack doesn't exist, it simply refuses to give lack the power to dictate the future. Faith is the force that stands up when appearances say no and declares yes. Doubt bows down to appearances and accepts them as final. Faith speaks to the mountain and expects movement. Doubt builds a house in its shadow. Abundance is not swayed by outer appearances. It flows to those who hold their inner conviction steady. Faith is the anchor in that flow. It is the deep knowing that there is always more, that what is yours cannot be withheld, that every seeming delay is only preparation. Doubt interrupts this flow by planting seeds of fear. What if it doesn't happen? What if it's not meant for me? What if I fail? These questions poison the soil of the mind, preventing the harvest of abundance from sprouting. Faith uproots those weeds and declares, "It is already done." Many spend their lives wavering between faith and doubt, planting seeds with one hand and uprooting them with the other. They believe for a moment, then fear the next. They speak words of abundance, then undo them with words of lack. Faith cannot flourish in a divided mind. Abundance requires a steady signal. It listens to conviction, not confusion. When you hold faith unwaveringly, the universe responds with clarity. When you waver in doubt, the response is silence and delay. Faith allows you to act from the place of already having received. You speak differently, walk differently, think differently when faith is your foundation. You stop questioning the how and begin trusting the certainty of the outcome. Doubt demands proof before it believes. Faith believes before proof and calls it forth. That is why faith is creative and doubt is destructive. Doubt waits for something to happen. Faith makes it happen. Abundance is drawn to the one who stands firm. It recognizes the vibration of faith like a beacon in the night. Faith says, "I know it's coming," and abundance moves swiftly. Doubt says, "I hope it might," and abundance waits at a distance. Faith is an open door. Doubt is a locked one. Faith releases the flow. Doubt holds it hostage. When faith fills your mind, your world reorganizes itself to match it. Situations shift, people appear, doors open. Doubt creates static energy that keeps everything stuck in potential, but never allows it to manifest. Faith is not the absence of uncertainty in the world around you. It is the refusal to let uncertainty dictate your inner state. It is the spiritual stance of knowing that no matter what is seen, the unseen law of supply is more powerful. It is standing in the middle of the storm with steady hands, declaring abundance, even when the outer world looks empty. Doubt trembles at the storm, faith commands it. Those who prosper have trained themselves to lean into faith even when their senses tempt them to doubt. They know that appearances are temporary and faith is eternal. They do not let temporary lack deceive them into believing that abundance has disappeared. They hold their belief like a torch in the dark, and because they do, the path is illuminated. Doubt would have them stumble, lose sight, turn back. Faith walks forward and abundance meets it halfway. Doubt thrives on evidence. It says, "Show me first, then I'll believe." Faith says, "I believe first, then I'll see." This reversal is the great secret of prosperity. The world teaches people to depend on what they see, but abundance flows to those who believe beyond sight. Faith calls things into existence because it aligns the inner state with the reality desired. Doubt calls nothing because it aligns the inner state with fear, and fear creates stagnation. When faith becomes your foundation, you stop chasing outcomes, you start attracting them. You stop pleading for what you want and start commanding it with quiet authority. This is not forceful, it is the gentle but immovable power of spiritual law. Faith does not bargain, it does not negotiate, it declares and knows. Doubt is always negotiating with its fears, asking permission to believe, hesitating to claim what is already given. Abundance listens to the voice of faith like a river responding to gravity. It has no resistance to it. Faith aligns perfectly with the natural flow of increase. It is the natural state of abundance to move toward those who believe they are ready to receive. Doubt is a dam in that river, holding everything back. No amount of outer action can compensate for a mind anchored in doubt, but the smallest action, rooted in faith, can move mountains. Faith speaks in the language of gratitude before the harvest. It says thank you before the crop is seen, knowing it already exists in the unseen. Doubt waits to see the crop before it gives thanks, and in waiting, it delays the harvest. Faith brings you into alignment with abundance now, not later. It collapses the distance between desire and manifestation. Doubt stretches that distance into endless waiting. When faith fills the heart, fear loses its grip. Fear cannot survive in the presence of unwavering belief. And when fear dissolves, the pathways for abundance open wide. The mind stops clutching at control. The soul stops begging. The energy of certainty radiates outward, drawing in everything that matches it. This is why faith has been called the substance of things hoped for. It is not hope alone. It is the substance, the invisible matter from which abundance is shaped. Abundance is always present, always flowing, but it responds only to the hands that reach for it in faith. Doubt keeps those hands clenched and hidden. Faith extends them openly. Faith says, "I am ready." Doubt says, "I'm not sure." And the universe answers accordingly. Faith commands movement. Doubt commands nothing. Faith is the builder. Doubt is the destroyer. To live in faith is to walk through the world as though your supply is assured. It is to stop asking if and start declaring when. It is to trust that the law of abundance is as sure as the sunrise, not dependent on chance or luck, but on alignment. Doubt is restless, questioning, and unstable. Faith is calm, steady, and magnetic. The two cannot coexist in equal measure. One must lead. Those who cultivate faith become unshakable, for they no longer depend on appearances to feel secure. They know that the source of their wealth, their opportunities, their blessings, is not external but spiritual. They hold their faith as a lantern, lighting their path. Doubt fades in the glow of that light. Faith pulls abundance closer with every step taken in trust. Doubt keeps it at arm's length with every step taken in hesitation. Faith is the soil in which abundance grows. Doubt is the frost that kills the seed before it sprouts. When faith fills your inner world, the outer world responds with reflection. It cannot do otherwise, for the universe mirrors belief without error. What is held in faith must take form, just as surely as a seed held in fertile ground must become a tree. Faith whispers yes. Doubt whispers no. Abundance listens only to yes. Money is a servant, not a master, for it was never meant to rule the human spirit but to obey it. Money is a tool, a vessel, a carrier of intention, moving wherever the hand of belief directs it. When people forget this truth, they bow before it, letting it govern their emotions, their choices, and their destiny. But those who understand its true nature speak to it with quiet authority, commanding it as they would any loyal servant. A servant does not lead, a servant follows. Money follows the vibration, the consciousness, and the direction of the one who holds the claim over it. The world has been taught to treat money like a distant master who must be appeased, chased, or feared. People give it power it never had. They allow it to dictate their happiness, their security, their worth. They wake up and sleep thinking of it as a judge, weighing their value by how much or how little they hold. This is the great reversal of truth. Money has no mind of its own. It does not command, it reflects. It goes where it is called and stays where it is welcomed. To make it a master is to give away your own power. To treat it as a servant is to reclaim your rightful place as the one who directs the flow. Those who thrive have learned this quiet mastery. They do not fear money. They do not worship it. They use it. They understand it moves toward clear direction and confident energy. When money senses fear, it scatters like mist. When it meets certainty, it gathers. The fearful speak to money as though it holds authority over them. The wise speak as though they hold authority over it. This is why the same dollar in one hand can build a fortune and in another hand can slip away like sand. The difference is not the dollar. The difference is the position of power. Money reflects consciousness. If you see it as a ruler, it will rule you. If you see it as a servant, it will serve you. People who live in lack often place money on a throne, believing that their joy, peace, and power depend on its arrival. They say, "If only I had money, I would feel secure. If only I had money, I would live freely." But in saying this, they bind themselves to a false master. Their emotions swing with every gain and loss. Their choices shrink in the presence of fear. Their faith collapses at the sight of a dwindling balance. A true master of money is unmoved by its comings and goings, because they understand that money is not the source, it is only a channel. Money serves thought, it serves faith, it serves clarity, it answers to inner alignment. It has no will to resist or to control. When directed by fear, it flees. When guided by purpose, it multiplies. When held with trembling hands, it slips away. When held with confident hands, it grows. The servant mirrors the master. If the master is unstable, the servant wanders. If the master stands firm, the servant stays loyal. People who are mastered by money live in constant reaction. A bill arrives and they shrink. An opportunity appears and they doubt. A shift in the flow happens and they panic. But those who master money act from inner steadiness. They do not allow a temporary number to dictate their worth or direction. They give money its task and let it move accordingly. They speak to it as one speaks to a trusted messenger, sending it out with purpose and expecting its return. Money is neutral. It carries no emotion of its own. It becomes what you make of it. When you approach it with desperation, it reflects scarcity. When you approach it with calm authority, it reflects abundance. Many spend their lives trying to please it, fearing its absence, clinging to every penny, and in doing so they create a relationship of servitude where they are the servant. This inversion keeps them small, but when one remembers their true place, the energy shifts entirely. To master money is not to dominate others with it. It is to command your own inner state so strongly that money can only follow. It is to hold a vision so clear that money becomes a willing instrument to bring it forth. It is to give money a purpose rather than letting it give purpose to you. This is the silent truth the wealthy understand. They direct money like a current, flowing it where it is needed, multiplying it through vision, not fear. When you make money your master, it owns your time, it decides your moves, it governs your peace. You work for it rather than with it. You sacrifice your dreams to hold on to it. You let it dictate what is possible. But when it is your servant, it obeys your faith, your purpose, your direction. It becomes an ally, not a chain. The servant does not argue, it carries out orders. Many fear money because they have seen it control others. They have witnessed greed, obsession, and corruption, and assumed this is the nature of money itself. But these are the reflections of those who let it rule them. Money, when guided by clear intention, is simply energy in motion. It builds homes, feeds the hungry, opens paths, creates change. When left in the hands of fear, it breeds misery. When placed under the hand of purpose, it creates expansion. The posture of mastery over money begins in thought. If you speak to it with trembling words, it hears fear and drifts away. If you speak with the authority of one who knows they are the source of their abundance, it responds like a faithful servant returning home. It does not require your worry, it requires your command. It requires you to stop bowing and start leading. Money cannot lead because it cannot see, it follows vision. When vision is strong, money flows to it like a river follows its course. When vision is weak, money wanders aimlessly, never creating anything lasting. This is why so many who chase money never find stability. They are trying to follow their servant instead of guiding it. The servant cannot lead the way. To treat money as a servant is to detach your identity from it. You are not your balance. You are not your possessions. You are the master of the flow, the one who decides its movement. You can have little today and much tomorrow without losing your sense of power. You can release money without fear because you know it returns multiplied. You can direct it boldly because it exists to serve, not to control. Fear turns people into servants of money. They hoard, they panic, they sacrifice their joy in its name. Faith turns money into a servant of purpose. It flows easily, it obeys direction, it grows in the hands of clarity. Those who understand this no longer chase. They no longer worry when it moves in and out, because they know they are the constant, not the currency. Money respects authority, not the authority of force, but the authority of belief. It is drawn to the one who stands firm in their worthiness to receive and their willingness to direct it wisely. It avoids the one who wavers, who fears, who treats it like a master. It thrives where it is given orders, not worship. It expands where it is used with confidence, not clung to in desperation. When you stand as master over money, you become free. You no longer measure your peace by what is in your hand. You no longer let external figures decide how you feel. You use money, but it does not use you. You guide it, but it does not guide your soul. It becomes a channel, a bridge, a servant carrying your intention out into the world and returning with increase. Money obeys the vibration you hold. If you fear it, you serve it. If you trust yourself, it serves you. If you chase it, it runs. If you claim it, it bows. The posture you take decides the relationship. People who struggle financially often unconsciously place money on a throne it does not deserve. They give away their authority in small daily ways, fearing bills, shrinking at prices, doubting their ability to create more. The moment they shift that inner stance, money responds like a servant finally recognizing its master's voice. Money will follow faith more quickly than it follows effort. Effort without mastery becomes servitude. Faith with mastery creates flow. This is why some work endlessly and remain bound, while others work with clarity and prosper with ease. The difference is not in the labor, but in the relationship. The servant responds to strength, not struggle. The wise do not chase after their servants, they call them. They do not beg their servants to stay, they direct them. They do not let their servants determine their worth. They give them their task and move forward with calm expectation. Money requires the same stance. It responds to clarity, confidence, and command. It drifts away from fear, doubt, and worship. Money is not a master to be feared or obeyed. It is a servant to be directed. It was designed to work for you, not against you. It was meant to follow your vision, not shape it. It carries out the commands of your inner world with precision. If your inner world says lack, it serves lack. If your inner world says abundance, it serves abundance. It cannot do otherwise because it has no will of its own. When you finally place money back in its rightful role as servant, the chains of financial fear begin to break, the weight of chasing lifts, the endless worry about its arrival and departure quiets. You begin to move from a place of authority, knowing that what you command in faith must obey. You stop asking money to give you permission to live. You stop instructing it to follow your purpose. You stop shrinking in its shadow and stand in your rightful place as the master of the flow.